Hello and welcome to Thrive by Design, a show that looks at the challenges we face as we declutter, whether we're new residents coming in or having been here for quite a while and acquired just too much stuff. This show is a way to look at how we can live in a space that is light, supportive, and reflective of our personal designs, but addresses the challenges that we face as we age. We're going to be following one of our residents as she makes space within her new apartment, and she will declutter with our help and manage to fit in and release some of the things she acquired in a home that was 4 times the space that she moved into. It'll be fun, it'll be entertaining, and we hope that it will be inspiring for you to do the same. We're going to start by talking to one of our supportive people here at Alegria Village, Christina Jimenez. Christina is a nationally recognized and certified caregiver and a professional housekeeper. And she is one of the original Pass Along partners. And Christina and I have worked together, and we've seen a lot as we've visited over 150 homes in the past 14 months. And from our experiences, we have developed Thrive by Design. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you, Judith.
Okay. So we've seen a lot together, haven't we?
Oh, boy, have we ever,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. The big challenge and the big, I think, surprise has come most recently when we've had to clean out the homes of some of our residents who have passed on. And we've seen the emotional turmoil and also the physical stress that it has caused families when they have to clean out their loved one's apartment.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And so as we age, control is a big part of our life, being in control
That's true, yes.
of who we are and what we do and what we own.
Exactly, yes.
And so if we can start decluttering and letting go of things now while we have the say-so, we're in charge.
That's perfectly accurate, yes.
Okay. And so Thrive by Design is a way to look at your home and design it or redesign it in such a way that it still captures those personal preferences, the furniture, the color, the pictures, those memorabilia that you brought with you, but maybe not so much of it.
Exactly, and as well as the size requirements. Some of the memorabilia or touching photos, we can downsize some of those. We don't have to have a multitude of them, or sometimes 2 or 3, we could just downsize to 1.
Right.
And looking at that.
Well, we've had experience with folks moving in from big houses. They've downsized some, okay, but the furniture they're bringing in is not proportional to the space that they're having to live in now.
That's
Okay.
correct. So if we had a home and we had a china cabinet, here we don't really need a full china cabinet. It would be nice to have a storage unit that does display our memorabilia or our china, but we don't need to have something so large in scale.
Right.
Okay.
And so, but those things are hard to let go of, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They have a lot of memories.
They
They
do.
have time with us.
And my generation and my parents' generation were led to believe you bought it, you own it, you keep it forever. Okay.
Exactly.
I can remember going into my grandpa's garage and there were baby food jars filled with nuts and bolts that someday I'm going to need those.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And collectibles. I know my husband and I, we collected cow creamers from places all over the world. Okay. But I don't need a herd of 30 cow creamers anymore.
Exactly.
So I am in the process of cleaning out the herd, so to speak. But I found, and I hope you'll agree, that letting go of these things are emotional. Very emotional.
Very much so, because some of these things have come with us a long way.
Right.
And we hold the memory with it. And that's okay, but also we can also share that memory with someone else. If we have grandchildren that would say, I wanted your dishes, or I would love to have had the tea set, you can share that with them and give it to them now while they will be able to utilize
Right.
that. And then you feel better about it. It's going to another home for another generation to utilize it. So
It's better to see the light in the eyes now and witness that joy
yes.
than and to save it until you're actually gone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, how many can openers do you need?
Exactly. And there's always that sense of, okay, what if this one breaks? If it does break, you know that there's always a newer one, something that's more updated or something that's more ergonomically safe or easier to use as we age. So then that way, we don't need to keep the two. Just one is enough.
And if you do need it, guess where you'll find it? Treasure chest. Also, if you need a suitcase, rent it. Go downstairs, spend the $10, get a suitcase, take your trip, donate it back. You don't have to store it.
That's perfect. It's
Yeah.
perfect, idea. And thinking in those terms and looking at the spaces, thinking in those terms really frees up your mind, the space in your mind to be able to let those things go. And
Yeah.
when you can do that, it's so much lighter feeling.
I know when we go into an apartment and help a family, I immediately go home and clean out a drawer of my own.
I do the same. I have to clean out my car.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about the design to thrive. Okay. So one of the things that we've noticed is obstacles.
Yes.
Heaven forbid we need EMS to come into our apartment
Right.
and respond to us. But we know, because of where we live and who we are, our ages, it is more of a likelihood than not.
Okay.
So having a clear path to us is not only important, it's critical. It's life-changing. It could be life-changing. So when you look at your apartment, a thing to ask, is there a clear path from your door into your apartment and into your bedroom? If someone was to come in, can they do it in the most expedient way? Because if it is a stroke or a heart attack, seconds matter. And so we know that residents have furniture and walkers and oxygen tanks and things that often get in the way and get tripped over. And so they do impede when first responders come.
Exactly. And coming from the caregiver perspective, I look at walking in, maybe when we first moved here, we didn't need any help, but maybe we're convalescing from an injury where we would need some help. How is it that I can come in and make the safest environment for this person to heal? So I want a clear path that they can get to what they need, their medications, get to the restroom safely, not being obstructed. Maybe before they did not need a walker, but now because of a temporary surgery, they will need that. So let's look at making space for those things, even if it means putting those things up for some time. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to completely get rid of it now that I have to use a walker, but it's something that thinking of maybe putting it in storage for a short period of time while I'm convalescing.
Right. Clothes.
Oh, clothes.
Okay, I have a wonderful husband, my husband Michael, and I'll walk out and I'll say, well, how do I look? And he says, well, you know, it doesn't bring out your best quality. And I know that is either too tight, too short, or shouldn't be worn by a woman my age. And so I look at it in a different way. I have more t-shirts than a woman my age should have. So it's starting to look at your clothing and your closet and your drawers in a different way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as well, we look at our closet of, I bought that and that was my investment, that blazer. But how many times are you going to use that blazer in this environment?
Right.
thinking in those terms, whether you had career clothing or a certain type of wardrobe for a specific thing, are you utilizing that anymore? And can someone else get the benefit
Yes.
of that?
We just cleaned out an apartment, and there were some dressy clothes. Okay, so the assisted living is having their prom in June, and so we were able to pass those items on to assisted living so other people can enjoy it. And so it's not that you're throwing it away, you're not giving it away, you're passing it on. You're passing it on to other people who will be able to utilize it and have further enjoyment. You're giving life to that particular piece
yes.
of clothing.
Yeah, especially with your other partner would be Tim Kaine, and that would
Right.
be the felons. I
Yeah,
believe that's
Force,
Force.
Friends of Returning Citizens. The men, Clothing for Men, go to help someone have an interview and dress well. They're coming out of incarceration, and so this is part of Christian charities, and so we have a direct line to help support other people get a better start in life.
That's a lifesaver. If someone thought, well, I'm a mechanic, I don't need this kind of clothing, but you need to get through that interview. And if you have that type of clothing and that's going to help you get to that interview, all the better. You will see the benefit or feel the benefit from that, where that clothing went to, and it's just elongating the life of the
Right.
clothing, and you feel better about it.
Right. And there's a lot battered women's shelters. We pass those
Yes.
on to that particular charity. So in our work with Pass Along Partners, we have a chance to connect to a lot of different organizations that use them right away. Also, we know of residents that have expressed interest in a coat, in a new pair of shoes, in different items for the home that we've
Yes.
been able to make those connections. And so we're very pleased to be able to do that. And we really do thank those residents who have been able to let go and part with many of these
Oh,
items.
yes. It's been vital. There's times where, especially temporary medical devices.
Yes.
So I needed a wedge pillow while I was having my ankle operated on, but I only used it a few times, and I covered it with a towel. Someone else can benefit from that, and
Right.
it's a lifesaver because all of a sudden someone pulled their back doing some exercise or something, and this is something that someone else can utilize
Right.
longer than the time that you even thought of using it.
So downstairs in the step room, we do have a bin for personal hygiene products for use for not use but for new Depends and for medical devices such as that, smaller than the ones that go to medical treasure chests.
Right.
But we'll make sure that they get to assisted living or to other residents that might be able to use them. But let's circle back for a minute and talk about the decluttering and the emotional separation for your from your things.
Yes.
Okay, because I've noticed, and in talking to the families of some of our residents, and I talk to the sons and daughters that come through, getting a suggestion that you need to let this go, mom or dad, really is not always well received coming from a daughter or a son.
Definitely not. No, it's not.
So sometimes you need a dispassionate observer. Okay.
Yes.
Later in the program, we're going to meet a resident who has moved in with a huge amount of items. And I think it was a quick move. She left a house that was 3 bedrooms, a basement, and a garage. And she also inherited items from her mother's whole household. So trying to fit that all into a 1-bedroom apartment is virtually impossible, okay?
Oh, sure.
But the emotional attachment is extremely strong, okay? And so we're going to witness and follow her journey through the course of this series. But let's talk about what it means to let something go that is meaningful to you. You don't want to be reminded you got to get rid of it, okay?
Right. That's true.
Sometimes you need to tell the story.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to start by eating an elephant. And how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. And so our suggestion in the show today is to start eating your elephant one bag or one box at a time. All right? Take a bag or a box and designate it. Pass along. You don't even have to say give away, throw out. Pass it along, because that mindset will help you in separating from those things that are precious. They're precious to you. And knowing that they're not going to be disposed of inappropriately or indiscriminately, they're going to be passed along to somebody who can benefit from it. Okay?
And it's so helpful. It's so beneficial. There are times where it's so uncanny the way this conversation is going. I think of your husband, Michael, and he always has this adage that he says that left-handed monkey wrench.
That's right.
So every time we have some item and we think, who could use this? It's in great condition. There's always someone that comes along and says, hey, do you know if you've seen a left-handed monkey wrench? And it always seems to find its way to the proper owner.
Yes.
And we feel so good about that.
Yeah.
And so you have to think of that as the gain and not the loss.
Right.
Sometimes if we're getting rid of this looks like a loss. It's less in here, it's empty in here, it echoes here. But at the same time, it no longer fits your needs, but it does fit someone else's needs.
Right.
So that's so beneficial, and it does make you feel better.
Right. Mm-hmm. Another thing, too, is when you have to give away things that prolong your memories, okay? And as we age, we want to remember as much as possible.
Sure.
And there may be some cognitive challenges taking place in our lives. And having these items around us are comforting, and they help us to remember. I had the blessing to work with one of our residents who had to move to Florida, and she moved quickly and was not able to take a lot of the things that she loved. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I created a memory book for her, took a picture of the item, put it in a little book, and made a space where she could take a note and write a story about that memory piece.
Well, that's wonderful.
So it was 5 by 7, okay? It was a small little book, fit in her suitcase. In fact, it fit in her purse. And she was able to gaze upon the clock that her husband had given her, the little rocking chair that was 100 years old that came from her grandmother's home, and she could write a little story. That was enough to keep her in touch with that memory, but yet it did not fill the entire room or require a moving truck to take it down to Florida. So that's one of the suggestions that we offer to you, is that if you have to or feel so inclined to start letting go and passing along some of your items, but they gave you great joy, don't dismiss that, honor that. Take a picture. We all have cell phones. We can either go to one of the drugstores and print it out. They still print out pictures and get a little album and put it in, but write your story on it. Write your story, date that story. Okay, we're going to talk about dating pictures in just a minute, but date that story so when the family finds it, they have your memory and can share in it, and it isn't just another collectible that grandma kept around or grandpa kept around. It has more meaning.
And also, back to the caregiver's perspective, there are some things memorable that we keep. Say, for instance, I had a patient that had a farmhouse, and they had a wrought iron duck. And she loved to use this duck because it was so heavy for a doorstop, which was a great idea, thinking things in purposeful manner here. That's wonderful. But you have to think about, once you're in a wheelchair or you're in a different device, is that going to be an obstruction? Can you trip on it? Can others come in to help you with it?
Right.
So we can have a regular rubber doorstop. That's the common ones.
Right.
But those type of things, would it be better to hand that down to your granddaughter or thinking of other alternatives, yes, it was a wonderful thing and it was purposeful at a different time, but maybe not so much here in
Right.
this instance. Okay?
So let's go back to pictures.
Okay.
Okay. My dad passed away at 95 and a half. He and my mother were married for over 65 years. And they had pictures from when they were in grade school. Okay.
Wow.
My mother was the historian for the family, but she failed to document the time and place and names. So I've got pictures of guys that look like the Wild Bunch, have no idea who they are. Okay, so they came from Trinidad, Colorado. Okay, I've got pictures of Hungarians that I have no names for. Please write the names down on the back of your pictures and either digitize them or go through them and reduce the number because it is painful for families once you're gone to throw away your family photos. It hurts.
As well, there's other media that you can use. When we have a family member that passes, in the family, we post it to social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. I'd never had a picture of my father in his military uniform that he was smiling. He was always a portrait where he was very official. Yeah. But to see my father smiling in that gives me comfort to see that he enjoyed that period of his time.
Right.
And I said, well, why didn't we have that picture? No, because it got sent off to another relative, but they shared it on social media. Yeah. So understand that when you share it, it doesn't degrade anymore. And it might be going to the right person and the family that it would pertain to the most. So
bringing back those photographs and reminiscing can also be very good. When my dad passed and we went to the attic and we found all those items, we wish we would have, my sister and I, sat down with my dad and talked to him about his experience in Panama and when he was in high school. And we looked at those pictures together and they weren't just stored. So decluttering can also be an opportunity to reminisce. But when you've touched it and written upon it or digitized it, pass it along. Because again, you are in control, and that is a big thing for us as we age, is staying in control. Better you pass it along than someone with less concern for it. Okay.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
So I think we've done a great job this first segment.
I think so.
Okay. When we come back, we will talk to Jeanette Anderson, who is our new resident, who has graciously agreed to allow us to Thrive by Design her new apartment. So stay tuned, and we'll be back.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up, and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
In our next segment, we'll meet new Allegra Village resident Janet Anderson. Miss Anderson moved to Allegra Village in December. She came from a 3-bedroom, basement, garage home, and with possessions of her own and her mother as well, she moved into a 600 square foot apartment. Talk about culture shock. We're here to help her. Come meet Janet. We've talked about the emotional trauma and angst that it gives folks. So we're going to explore that with you because you are our courageous resident who is allowing us to help you thrive here at Allegra Village with a redesign of your apartment. Thank you.
Very courageous.
Yes, you are very courageous.
But I need help.
Okay.
I had absolutely too many things in one tiny apartment. So.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Where did you move from?
I moved from a house, 3 bedrooms, and a den house in Detroit.
Okay.
And I had a beautiful flower garden and a bunch of stuff in the house that I didn't need.
Okay.
And I left half of my stuff in the house.
Okay.
And also, I had to downsize my mother's house
All right.
because she had more junk than I did.
How
So-
long did your mom live in her home?
Oh, about 25 years.
Okay. And you, how long did you live in your home?
That home, 10 years.
10 years?
But I've
Okay.
been all over.
Okay. So when you decided and you made the decision to move to Alegria Village,
Oh, absolutely.
what kind of a lifestyle change were you looking for that prompted you to make that decision?
Well, I was looking for a place where I could relax more
Okay.
and not have to worry about all, expenses.
Mm-hmm.
I could maybe just pay one thing a month.
Okay.
And I like the idea of having my meals included.
Okay.
So that was a good deal that was presented to me by Cheryl.
Okay.
She called me
Oh, all right.
from one of the places for mom.
Okay, through a referral.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was hooked
All
when
right.
she called me.
Well, we know that the space that you selected is a one bedroom, but you were in a position to bring that accumulation of items from a large home, and then you had things from your mom that were still very precious to you. And the
Absolutely.
scale of the furniture, the scale, just the size in relationship to the space, was out of proportion. You brought in a big china cabinet and a big dining room table, and you have a you have a king size bed.
I do.
Okay. And as well as some beautiful clothes and shoes and hats, and you have some beautiful items.
Thank you.
So, how did you feel when you first moved in that first night when you were sleeping in your new
I
bed?
felt scared. I felt overwhelmed
Okay.
and just didn't know what to do. I was really, really emotional. And I thought about just leaving and going somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Just get in my car and start driving. Because I could not see where everything would fit in there.
Okay.
And then you came along.
Well, one of the things that Christina and I have been working on through the Pass Along Partners is we visit a lot of apartments and we help families when their loved one has passed
Mm-hmm.
clean out apartments such as the one you're living in now. Okay, and so we know the anguish that it causes the ones who are left behind, and we thought there's got to be a better way to make the living environment thrivable, breathable for the one who is actually living in it, and then also provide a process of giving it away or downsizing or recycling when the time comes for the family that's left behind. And so working with folks as like yourself, it's really twofold. We want you to feel really good about being here in Alegria Village because it's a great community. We have great people here and good services, and we want you to feel that your choice to come here was a good one, all right? And we want you to be able to move within your space comfortably.
Okay.
So tell me about your hobbies. What do you like to do?
Well, I like to play cards.
Okay.
I like to play ping pong.
Okay.
I like my dog when I had him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He went off and left me. He transitioned. And I like to walk with him.
Okay.
And I love just doing just about everything that keeps me moving and active.
Well, Christina,
I love to cook too.
There you go.
There
and
we
bake.
okay.
Yeah.
So as we have been working with you in your apartment, and I started organizing your kitchen.
Here's our partner, Christina Jimenez, in the kitchen with her expertise on organizing and decluttering. How's it going, Christina?
It's going wonderfully. This is all going to be cleared up, and she can find what she's looking for when she needs it. You have beautiful tools that you can make magnificent meals with, but understanding if you have 3 bottle openers, you'll only need 1. So let's pick the best quality one and either offer it to a family member if they could use it, because there could be a college student getting ready to move out, or you can donate it downstairs to the treasure chest, and then someone else that forgot to move theirs or didn't have one can utilize that without having to go outside of our community to be able to use these items.
I did hold on to 2.
But it does happen, and we end up having, everything is a memory. I do have a cast iron pan from my mother, that type of situation. So if that one means that much to me, then keep that as my solid one, and then look at how many do I really need. Am I going to be cooking in the proportions that I cooked before?
Right.
Okay, even when we come from a large family or something like that, that's what we did before. But do we really see ourselves making that amount of food and having that amount of guests? And that plays a part in not only the tools, but also the plates and the napkins. And it just goes on into the chairs and the seating. So if we look at service for 4, then there's 4 chairs and a table for 4 chairs. No longer the 16 or that mindset of the 16 and beyond. Okay.
And you like to play cards. Wouldn't you like to invite 3 people to come in your
Absolutely, I
apartment?
would.
Okay. And I know when I arrived and knocked on your door, I had a hard time walking in.
Oh, well,
Didn't
so
stop me
did
though.
I.
Yeah, but it didn't stop me, did it?
No, she came right in.
I didn't.
Christina.
Nothing
She
stops
just
me.
took over.
But we looked at the size of the furniture. All right. So you had a beautiful dining room table. 6. You didn't have the 6 chairs there. You had 1 chair, but the table itself is French Provençal, and you said it was your mom's, and she loved it. Okay. And accompanying that was the china cabinet. All right, with a lot of beautiful Waterford crystal in it as well. But as we talked about it, you made the decision that it did not serve, and I made the suggestion that we might be able to find an alternative. And the first thing, after we had taken boxes out that allowed us to create a pathway. So first we had to create a pathway from your front door to your sliding door, okay? Because we know in the work that we do that should EMS ever be called to your apartment to respond to a crisis, before they can save you, they got to get to you. All right. And so that is one of the primary directives of Thrive by Design, is to create safety for you. And that wasn't there. Okay.
No, it wasn't.
So we looked at things we could immediately move out, and we found 3 flatbeds of boxes.
Yeah.
Part of it was shoes and luggage that you got 2 storage units that we are filling. They're not filled, but we're working on getting them. And then going through the clothes, finding the winter clothes that could be stored, some of the things that you may not wear anymore, that don't complement your current style, all right? But one of the things you mentioned is you're not ready for certain things to go.
I don't need all that. I don't need a 50 pair of shoes. You know,
You're
and
not a centipede. That's or a millipede.
I might be.
You might be. But one of the things we talked about is sometimes you need to touch it 5 times. You need to identify it, and then touch it, and then relive the story, and then move it. And then, as you have just proclaimed, realize, I don't own it, it owns me. All right? So your things now become your master, and you've said, now I think I can let go of some of this. It's a process. It's torturous. And we want to be able to support. So we don't make those decisions. We don't promise you that everything's going to be perfect. But we promise that we'll be here to support you as you make those decisions along the way.
And you have been.
I know
You
you
have been. I feel very blessed to have you guys come into my life. I really do. I feel lucky too.
Well, we're fortunate that you
I
allowed
couldn't
it.
have done it without you.
Well, we're still doing it. Okay. We have made tremendous inroads. We're going to be swapping out your bed, and you'll be getting a queen size instead of a king.
Okay.
Okay, we've identified a couple pieces of furniture down in the treasure chest that will be coming up, and you'll have a dresser and a bureau. But then you'll have a space for that magnificent 75-inch television.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So we'll
Get
be-
it off the counter.
Get it off the counter. But we
Yes.
did find a great little table amongst your possessions, that beautiful glass piece
Oh,
of
you
glass
sure
on the
did.
pedestal.
Yes.
How's
and
that
you
working
set
for
it
you?
out for me and everything.
Yeah.
Looks beautiful. I hadn't even thought about where I was going to put it.
Yeah.
But see, you come in with your expert eyes and you just spotted it.
That's
And Christine really fixed up my kitchen.
Thank you.
I mean, I can find the things too.
So what you want to group things together, all the spices, and you look in the
You did
proportions.
an excellent.
Thank you. And
excellent
that
job.
way you can find it when you need it. If you
Yeah.
want to make French toast, you need the smaller spices, the cinnamon closer to you or whatever. Whatever you use frequently, I would suggest putting it in the forefront.
Appreciate it.
And then when, you just work your way out and you maneuver it to where you're using it at your needs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling since we started this process? We're not done, but we've made some significant improvements and inroads into getting things organized. We can see the path from the door to the
Yes, we
sliding door. We can
can.
Actually see out. All right.
Right.
So
I
how do you
can-
feel?
I feel better, much better. I can walk actually in my living room now without, a trail. And we still have some work to do though. The bedroom is still a trail, but I just feel good. I know it's going to be a lot better. And it's making me happy.
There. That's what we want. That's what we want. We
Right.
want to see those smiles because we know feeling overwhelmed can contribute to depression.
Oh,
All right. And when you're depressed, you isolate.
Oh,
And as we age, one of the worst things we can do is isolate.
That's true.
Okay. So we want you to have a space that you can invite people in. You're proud of. It works for you. You don't work for it, and it remains within your financial budget. Okay. And so that's our goals for you. And are there any other goals that you have for this process? Anything else you want to achieve, either yourself or a challenge to us to achieve?
Well, you're working on everything already.
Okay.
So, and I'm getting my health together.
Okay.
I guess I didn't tell you I had surgery on my back. So it's hard for me to, I did tell you, it's hard
Yes.
for me to lift things.
Right.
And I'm going to do the physical therapy again. But just to get my health better and get my place pretty and accessible, instead of boxes and big furniture.
Right. And I think that does help with your mental health as
It
well.
does.
It really does. When you open your eyes in the morning and you see things.
You want to go back to sleep. So.
Exactly. When they're disorganized, to say like the day after Christmas, we have wrapping paper everywhere, then you're like, oh, geez. But once you have everything together and in its place, you wake up and your mind isn't cluttered. And that does play a big part in your mental health. So
It
when you're physically
does.
healthy and mentally healthy, that you're doing the best work that you can for yourself.
I agree.
Christina, we talked about medication also and making it accessible. And what are some of the things we need to be thinking about when a caregiver comes in to our apartment and is responsible for overseeing the medication?
Okay, first of all, when we're taking our own medications, I have this by my nightstand because I have to have that before breakfast. And then I have the other things in the kitchen. And I have these things, oh, I take this at dinner time. Maybe it's over by the TV. So we want to consider some stranger or a new person's going to come in, and they need to organize that into a daily and a timed daily. So we want to look at maybe getting a medication cassette, and they sell them everywhere, and I do give them free. And so we would start looking at putting those, even if they're vitamins, if they're non-prescribed, but we need to take those, whether they're vitamins that we take in the morning, and there's some that are better that are absorbed in the evening. So we're going to separate those, and we talk about that to the caregiver and say, I like this, or this kind of gives me a stomach ache if it's without food. So we want to be able to put those and categorize them. And then we have to look at putting them together, whether they're vitamins, non-prescription, and prescription medications, because sometimes we take baby aspirins with certain things at certain times. So those type of things, and categorizing those into a safe place, and that way it makes it easier. Say for instance you're going to go away for the weekend, so then you can put in baggies or whatever that dispensed medication and put a sticker or a piece of tape that says AM, PM, and that way it's a lot easier on everyone, and that way no one gets too flustered about that. And then we can also look at the expiration dates. And sometimes as I age, the writing gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So we just get a magic marker and write 2/27 or whatever that expiration date is, so that we can remember that. If it's not at its potency, it's really not going to be well absorbed for our bodies, whether it's eye drops down to vitamins. So that's something to consider.
And I bring that up, Jeanette, because we looked at your medication and you've got it in bags. All right,
3 different bags.
three different bags, and so we brought back a very stylish box that
I
you
had
gave
all
away.
the time.
You had all along, but we're going to repurpose that because it's something you love, and it's something that you were courageous enough. You gave it away, but we went back. I went back and got it. Christina is going to help you make sure that it is at the highest. The potency, we're going to make sure you can see it, all right? And it's going to be in a consistent place, all right?
I have to tell you, I haven't even found some of my medication. I don't know where it could be. So I had to go back to the doctor and ask for a
New prescription.
new prescription.
So what we're doing in your apartment not only is going to be organizing, but it's also going to be financially sound
Yeah.
for you.
Right.
We're going to find the things that you brought, we're going to put them into action so they can be useful to you, so you don't have to, what you've just done, have to reorder them, and give you a system. So when you get medication, you'll know, put the expiration date out in a magic marker, because as Christina said, our eyes are, challenged. And same thing for me. I have to do that with calcium and the magnesium and everything. And it's important for me to know that the potency really goes down when it hits the expiration date. So that's going to be one of our next projects with you, is to take a look at the medication. And we'll be going through the boxes more boxes and hopefully find what you already have there. Okay. All right.
Sounds wonderful.
So you ready to continue?
I definitely am.
All right. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, that's a wrap for our very first program for Thrive by Design. I hope you're intrigued. I hope you'll come back because we're still in process in helping Miss Janet Anderson become more comfortable here in her new space, a much reduced space, but one that's going to highlight her personality and give her a real opportunity to thrive here in Allegri Village. Stay tuned, much more to come. See you for show 2. Bye-bye for now.